It was a super hot afternoon at Dusty's diner. The sun was blazing outside, making everything feel sticky and slow. Inside, Sam Carter stood behind the grill, flipping burgers and wiping sweat off his forehead with the back of his hand. He had a scruffy beard and wore a greasy apron tied around his waist. To everyone in this quiet, sleepy little town, Sam was just the cook. That's what they called him. Nothing fancy, nothing special. Just a guy who made food. People would walk in, sit down, eat his burgers or fries, and then leave. Simple as that. Boring, even. Day after day, it was the same thing. Nothing exciting ever happened at Dusty's diner. At least, that's what everyone thought. But here's the thing, Sam wasn't who they thought he was. Nope. Not even close. Under that dirty apron and behind that quiet face was a secret. A big, huge, giant secret. It wasn't just a little thing, like he forgot to wash the dishes once. No, this was a secret so big it could shake the whole diner, maybe even the whole town apart. Nobody knew it yet. Not the people eating their food. Not the old guy who came in every day for coffee. Not even the kids who stopped by for milkshakes after school. Sam kept it hidden, locked up tight inside him, like a treasure chest buried under the ground. And he was good at hiding it. Really good. See, Sam didn't talk much. He'd nod or grunt when someone said hi. He'd take their orders, cook their food, and hand it over without a big smile or a bunch of words. People liked that about him. They thought he was simple. Just a cook doing his job. Good old Sam, they'd say. He's quiet, but he makes a mean burger. That's all they saw, a guy with messy hair and a spatula in his hand. But Sam wasn't just a cook. Oh no. He was something else. Something way bigger. Something nobody in this tiny town would ever guess. Imagine you're sitting in that diner right now. You're munching on some fries, sipping a soda, and watching Sam flip burgers. You'd never think there was anything special about him, right? He looked so normal. His apron had ketchup stains on it. His boots were old and scuffed up. He didn't wear fancy clothes or act like he was important. But that's what made his secret so wild. It was hiding right there, under all that normal stuff, waiting for the right moment to pop out and surprise everyone. Outside, the town was quiet. Dusty's diner sat on the edge of it, near a long, empty road that stretched out into the desert. Not many cars came by. Sometimes a truck would rumble past, or a stray dog would wander around looking for scraps. The diner itself wasn't much to look at, just a little building with a red roof and a sign that said Dusty's in big, faded letters. Inside, there were a few tables, some wobbly chairs, and a counter where people could sit and eat. The walls had old pictures of cowboys and horses, and the air smelled like grease and coffee. It was the kind of place where nothing big ever happened. Or so everyone thought. Sam liked it that way. He liked the quiet. He liked that nobody asked him questions. Where did he come from? Why was he here? Nobody cared. They just wanted their food. And Sam was happy to give it to them. He'd stand there, cooking, watching the people come and go. He saw the same faces every day, the lady with the big hat, the guy with the loud laugh, the kids who always spilled their drinks. He knew them all, but they didn't really know him. They didn't know what he used to be. They didn't know what he could do. And that's what made this hot afternoon different. It started out like any other day. Sam was behind the grill, the fans were spinning lazily overhead, and a few people were eating quietly at the tables. The clock on the wall ticked slowly. Everything felt normal. Too normal, maybe. Because something was coming. Something loud. Something that would crash into Sam's quiet little world and turn it upside down. He didn't know it yet, but it was on its way. And when it got here, that big secret of his, it wouldn't stay secret for long. Think about it for a second. What if you were Sam? What if you had a secret nobody knew about? Maybe you're good at something like drawing or singing and nobody knows. Or maybe you've done something amazing, but you keep it to yourself. Sam was like that. He had something hidden inside him, something from a long time ago. And it wasn't just a little thing. It was a big, crazy, wild thing that would make your jaw drop if you found out. But for now, he kept it quiet. He flipped his burgers. He wiped his hands on his apron. He acted like nothing was up. Hey, Quick question, what would you do if a bunch of loud bikers crashed your quiet day? Tell me below. Picture it, you're just chilling, maybe eating a snack or reading a book, and suddenly boom, trouble shows up. Big, noisy trouble. That's what was about to happen to Sam. His quiet day was about to get a whole lot louder. And when it did, everything would change. The cook they all thought they knew, he'd turn into someone they'd never forget. So there Sam was, standing behind that grill, sweat dripping down his face. The burgers sizzled. The air was hot and thick. Outside, the road was empty until it wasn't. Something was coming. Something with engines and attitude. Sam didn't hear it yet, but it was out there, getting closer. And when it hit, that secret of his, the one he'd kept buried for so long, would come roaring out. The sleepy town wouldn't know what hit it. And neither would you. The quiet at Dusty's diner didn't last long. All of a sudden, a loud noise crashed through the air like a big, angry storm. It was the roar of engines, growling and rumbling, getting closer and closer. Then, they were here. 5 bikers rolled up on their big, shiny motorcycles. The ground shook a little as they parked right outside the diner. These guys weren't small or nice. Nope. They were big, mean, and covered in black leather jackets that made them look tough. Their boots clomped loud on the ground as they strutted inside, pushing the door open like they owned the whole place. The leader of the pack was a guy named Razor. He was the loudest and the meanest of them all. He had a scruffy face with a scar over one eyebrow, and his eyes were sharp, like he was always looking for trouble. Razor walked right up to the counter where Sam was cooking. Sam was flipping burgers, minding his own business, when Razor leaned in close and sneered. "Hey, burger boy," he barked, his voice rough and nasty. Then bam, he slammed his fist down on the counter so hard the salt shaker jumped. "Make it quick, or we'll trash this dump," he yelled. His words were like a slap, mean and loud, meant to scare Sam. The other bikers thought it was hilarious. They laughed big, deep laughs that filled the diner. One of them kicked a chair, making it scrape across the floor. Another grabbed a ketchup packet from the counter, ripped it open, and squirted it on the wall just for fun. They tossed more packets around like it was a game, giggling and shouting as the red goo splattered everywhere. To them, Dusty's diner wasn't a place to eat. It was a toy to mess with. They acted like they were the kings of everything, and Sam? They thought he was just a nobody, a quiet cook who wouldn't fight back. But Sam? He didn't freak out. He didn't yell or run away. He just stood there, calm as could be. He nodded once, like he was saying okay, and kept flipping a burger on the grill. The sizzle of the meat was the only sound from him. His eyes stayed low, looking down at his work, not even glancing up at Razor or the mess the bikers were making. To anyone watching, it looked like Sam was scared, or maybe he just didn't care. The customers in the diner froze, holding their forks and fries, too afraid to say anything. The air felt heavy, like something bad was about to happen. But here's the thing, if you looked real close, you'd see something. Sam wasn't as calm as he seemed. His hands, the ones holding that spatula, weren't loose and easy. No, they were tight. His fingers squeezed the handle just a little harder than they needed to. It was small, so small you might miss it if you weren't paying attention. But it was there. That tiny sign told you Sam wasn't just taking this quietly. Something was going on inside him, something big, something hidden. He didn't show it on his face, though. His face stayed blank, like a mask. Razor didn't notice. None of the bikers did. And that was a big mistake. Razor kept talking, his voice loud and bossy. "What's the matter, burger boy?" "Too scared to talk," he said, laughing again. He leaned even closer, so close Sam could probably smell the gum on his breath. "Hurry up, or this place is gonna look worse than it already does." The other bikers cheered, egging him on. One of them picked up a napkin holder and threw it across the room. It hit the wall with a loud clank, and a few napkins fluttered to the floor. Another biker stomped over to a table where an old man was eating soup. "Move it, Grandpa," he shouted, and the old man grabbed his bowl and scurried away, scared. The diner wasn't quiet anymore. It was loud and messy, full of the bikers' voices and the sound of stuff breaking. Chairs got pushed over. A glass of water tipped and spilled across the counter. Ketchup smeared the floor like little red footprints. The bikers were having fun, acting like bullies who could do whatever they wanted. And Sam? He just kept cooking. Flip went the burger. Sizzle went the grill. He didn't say a word. But his hands, they stayed tight on that spatula. Tight like he was holding onto something more than just a cooking tool. The customers watched, wide-eyed. They didn't know what to do. Should they leave? Should they hide? The bikers were big and scary, and Sam didn't look like he could stop them. To them, he was just the cook, the guy who made their food every day. He wasn't tall or strong looking. He didn't have a loud voice or a tough face. So they stayed quiet, hoping the bikers would get bored and leave. But Razor wasn't bored. He was just getting started. He smirked at Sam, waiting for him to cry or beg or run. He wanted Sam to break. That's what bullies like Razor do, they push and push until you crack. But Sam didn't crack. He didn't even look up. He slid the cooked burger onto a bun, put it on a plate, and pushed it across the counter toward Razor. "Here," he said, his voice low and steady. That was it. Just one word. Razor blinked, surprised for a second. He wasn't expecting that. He wanted Sam to freak out, not hand him food like nothing was wrong. "What's this?" Razor snapped, grabbing the plate and holding it up. "You think this fixes anything, burger boy?" He dropped the plate on the floor, and it shattered into pieces, the burger rolling away in the mess. The bikers laughed again, louder this time. "Nice one, Razor," one of them yelled. They kept going, knocking over more stuff, making more noise. The diner was a wreck now, and Sam stood there in the middle of it, still holding that spatula. His eyes stayed down, but his hands, they didn't let go. That grip got tighter, just a little more. Razor didn't see it. He was too busy laughing, too busy thinking he was in charge. He didn't know what was coming. He didn't know who Sam really was. And that was the biggest mistake of all. Days went by after that first loud visit from the bikers. The sun came up, the sun went down, and Dusty's diner stayed the same, except it wasn't really the same anymore. Those 5 big, mean bikers kept coming back. They didn't just show up once and leave. Nope. They made it their game. Every few days, you'd hear that roar of engines again, and there they were, rolling into the parking lot like they owned it. They'd stomp inside, all leather and noise, ready to make trouble for Sam. They didn't just eat and go. Oh no. They harassed Sam every time. That means they picked on him, teased him, and tried to make him mad. One time, a biker grabbed a soda from the counter, took a big sip, and then splash, dumped the rest on the floor, right where Sam had just mopped. Another time, they knocked over a whole tray of fries, laughing as the food scattered everywhere. And paying? Nope, they'd forget to leave money half the time. They'd grab their burgers, eat them fast, and walk out, grinning like it was a big joke. Sam would just stand there, cleaning up their mess, while they laughed in his face. Razor, the leader, was the worst. One night, after the diner was almost empty, he leaned over the counter and got real close to Sam. "What's a wimp like you gonna do about it?" he taunted. His voice was loud and mean, cutting through the quiet. Then flick, he pulled a toothpick from his pocket and tossed it right at Sam's chest. It bounced off Sam's apron and fell to the floor. Razor laughed, showing his teeth, waiting for Sam to get mad or scared. The other bikers joined in, chuckling and slapping each other on the back. They thought Sam was weak. They thought he was nothing. The other people in the diner didn't do anything. There weren't many customers left that night, just an old lady with a cup of tea and a guy reading a newspaper. They stayed quiet, too scared to step in. The old lady peeked over her cup, her hands shaking a little. The guy hid behind his paper, pretending he didn't see. Nobody wanted to mess with the bikers. They were big and loud, and their motorcycles looked like they could run you over without even trying. So everyone just watched, hoping the trouble would pass. But Sam? He wasn't like the others. He didn't yell back at Razor. He didn't run away or cry. He didn't even look mad. He just stood there, flipping burgers, wiping the counter, doing his job. To the bikers, it looked like he was giving up. "See? Told you he's a wimp," Razor said, pointing at Sam like he'd won something. But here's the thing, Sam wasn't just taking it. He wasn't just letting it happen. No way. He was watching. He was listening. Every mean word, every laugh, every splash of soda, he didn't miss a thing. Sam's eyes were sharp, even if he kept them low. He saw everything. When Razor flicked that toothpick, Sam noticed how Razor's hand shook just a tiny bit. When the bikers spilled drinks, Sam saw which one smirked and which one looked away. Every insult, every joke, every time they forgot to pay, he stored it up inside him. It was like he was collecting it all, piling it up like ammo for a slingshot. He didn't say anything, but he didn't forget either. Sam was quiet, but he wasn't weak. Not even close. Then one day, something happened. It was a busy afternoon, and the bikers had come and gone again. They'd made their usual mess, ketchup on the tables, napkins on the floor, and left without paying, laughing as they roared away on their bikes. Sam started cleaning up, same as always. But this time, he found something. One of the bikers had left a jacket behind. It was black and heavy, thrown over a chair like they didn't care. Sam picked it up, brushing off some crumbs. He was about to toss it in the lost and found box when he stopped. There was something on the sleeve, a faded picture, like a tattoo stitched into the leather. Sam held the jacket closer and looked at it. The picture was old, worn out from years of sun and rain. It was a symbol, a wolf's head with sharp teeth, drawn inside a circle. Most people wouldn't think much of it. Just a cool design, right? But Sam froze. His eyes narrowed, squinting at that symbol like it was talking to him. He didn't move for a second. His breathing got slow. That symbol, he knew it. He knew it too well. It wasn't just some random picture to him. It meant something big. Something from a long time ago. Something he'd left behind or thought he had. Nobody saw it happen. The diner was empty now, and Sam was alone with that jacket. He didn't say a word out loud, but inside his head, things were moving fast. That symbol brought back memories, loud ones, wild ones, dangerous ones. He could almost hear the roar of engines from years ago, feel the wind on his face, see the faces of people he used to know. His hand tightened on the jacket, just like it had tightened on the spatula before. This wasn't just a biker's old coat. This was a clue. A piece of his past that had walked right back into his diner. Sam put the jacket down slow, folding it and setting it behind the counter. He didn't tell anyone what he'd seen. Not the old lady who came in later for her tea. Not the kids who stopped by for fries. He kept it to himself, like always. But now, things were different. The bikers didn't know it yet, but they'd left something behind that changed everything. Sam wasn't just watching and listening anymore. He was starting to think. Starting to plan. All those insults and messes they'd thrown at him. They were piling up, and now this jacket, it was like the last straw. The bikers thought they were in charge. They thought Sam was a nobody, a quiet cook they could push around. Razor kept laughing, kept calling him Burger Boy, kept acting like he ruled the world. But Sam wasn't just a cook. That symbol on the jacket? It was proof. Proof of who he used to be. Proof of what he could do. And the bikers? They had no idea what was coming. They didn't know they were poking a bear, a big, quiet bear who'd been sleeping for a long time but was starting to wake up. It was Friday night, and Dusty's diner was buzzing. The place was packed, every table full, every chair taken. Families ate burgers, kids slurped milkshakes, and old folks sipped coffee. The air smelled like fries and grease, and the hum of voices filled the room. Sam was behind the counter, flipping patties on the grill, same as always. His apron was stained, his face was sweaty, and he moved fast to keep up with all the orders. Everyone was chatting and laughing, enjoying their night. It felt like a regular, happy evening. But that was about to change. Then boom, the door flew open. The bikers were back. Those 5 big, loud guys stormed in, louder than ever. Their boots thudded on the floor, and their leather jackets creaked as they pushed through the crowd. People stopped talking. Forks froze halfway to mouths. The room got quiet, but not for long. The bikers started shouting, making a scene like they always did. "Hey, Burger Boy," one of them yelled at Sam. "Hurry it up." Another kicked a chair out of his way, sending it sliding across the floor. The customers shrank back, scared again. These guys didn't care who was watching, they wanted trouble. Razor, the leader, was in front this time. His eyes locked on Sam, and he marched straight to the counter. He didn't wait or say much. He just reached over, grabbed Sam by the collar of his shirt, and yanked him close. "Time's up, cook." Razor growled, his voice mean and rough. His face was so close Sam could see the dirt in his beard. "You're gonna regret," but he didn't get to finish. Sam moved fast, like lightning. In one quick twist, he broke free from Razor's grip. Then wham, he slammed Razor's arm down onto the counter so hard the whole thing shook. The diner went dead silent. Not a sound. No talking, no chewing, no nothing. Everyone's eyes were wide, staring at Sam and Razor. The bikers stopped laughing. The customers stopped breathing for a second. Even the grill seemed to hush its sizzle. Razor's arm was pinned, and he looked shocked, his mouth hanging open. Sam stood tall now, not slouched like usual. He wasn't just the quiet cook anymore. Something had changed. Something big. Then Sam spoke. His voice was low, deep, and dangerous like a growl from a dog you don't want to mess with. "You don't know who you're messing with, kid," he said, staring right into Razor's eyes. "Kid." He called Razor kid, even though Razor was big and tough. That word hit hard. Razor blinked, confused. The other bikers shifted on their feet, not sure what was happening. Sam didn't yell or shout. He didn't need to. His voice was enough quiet but strong, like a storm about to break. Sam let go of Razor's arm and stepped back. He didn't rush. He didn't shake. He just reached down and rolled up his sleeve slow, like he had all the time in the world. The diner lights hit his arm, and there it was, a tattoo. Not a pretty one, not a flower or a heart. This was a scarred, rough tattoo, faded but clear. It was a wolf's head snarling, with sharp teeth, inside a jagged circle. The lines were old, scratched into his skin like a story that wouldn't go away. Sam held his arm up, letting everyone see it. The room stayed silent, but you could feel the air get heavy. The bikers froze. Their tough faces changed. One guy's jaw dropped. Another took a step back, his boots squeaking on the floor. They knew that mark. That tattoo wasn't just any picture. It was the sign of the Iron Wolves, the meanest, wildest gang that ever ruled these roads. Years ago, everyone around here had heard of them. They were tough, they were fast, and they didn't play nice. People whispered their name like it was a ghost story. The Iron Wolves didn't mess around, and nobody messed with them. That tattoo? It meant something huge. But here's the real shock, Sam wasn't just some guy who'd hung out with the Iron Wolves. Nope. He'd been their leader. The boss. The one in charge. Back in the day, Sam wasn't flipping burgers, he was riding a motorcycle, leading a pack of tough guys just like these bikers. He'd been the strongest, the smartest, the one everyone listened to. That quiet cook in the greasy apron? He used to be the king of the roads. And now, standing in Dusty's diner, he wasn't hiding it anymore. Razor's tough guy face fell apart. The mean smirk he always wore? Gone. His skin turned white as a ghost, like all the blood ran out of him. He stared at Sam's tattoo, then up at Sam's face, then back at the tattoo. "No way," he mumbled, so quiet you could barely hear it. His hand, the one Sam had slammed, shook a little. The other bikers looked at each other, eyes big and scared. They'd been picking on the wrong guy this whole time. They thought Sam was a nobody, a wimp they could push around. But now, they saw the truth. Sam didn't move. He stood there, sleeve rolled up, tattoo out for everyone to see. His eyes were hard, locked on Razor. "You've been coming here," he said, still low and calm, "messing with my place. Messing with me. That stops now." His words weren't loud, but they hit like a punch. The customers started whispering, leaning forward in their seats. "Is that," one lady said. "The Iron Wolves," a kid whispered to his mom. The whole diner was waking up, figuring it out. Sam wasn't just a cook. He was a legend. Razor tried to talk, but his voice cracked. He couldn't get the words out. He wasn't the big, bad leader anymore. He looked small, like a kid caught stealing candy. The other bikers didn't help him. They just stood there, stuck, like they didn't know whether to run or beg. Sam didn't smile or laugh. He didn't need to. That tattoo, that voice, that slam on the counter, it said everything. He'd been quiet for weeks, taking their mess, their insults, their games. But not tonight. Tonight, they found out who he really was. The air in the diner felt electric, like something huge was about to happen. Everyone watched Sam, waiting. The bikers had pushed him too far, and now the truth was out. That tattoo wasn't just a picture, it was power. It was proof. Sam Carter, the quiet cook, was the toughest guy in the room. And Razor? He wasn't laughing anymore. The bikers didn't know what hit them. 1 second, they were staring at Sam's tattoo, mouths open, scared stiff. The next second, Sam moved fast like a superhero. Before they could even blink, he had them pinned. His hands grabbed 2 of the bikers by their jackets and shoved them against the counter. His arms were strong, full of muscle from years of tough living. All that grit, all that power he'd kept hidden, came out now. Razor and the others didn't stand a chance. They weren't the big, bad guys anymore, Sam was. He looked at them, his eyes hard and serious. "You've got 2 choices," he growled, his voice low and rough like a dog ready to bite. "Leave my diner and never come back, or find out why they used to call me the Wolf." That name, the Wolf, hung in the air. It wasn't just a cool nickname. It was who Sam used to be, the leader of the Iron Wolves, the toughest gang around. The bikers knew the stories. They'd heard about the Wolf and what he could do. And now, they were face to face with him. The gang didn't need to think twice. They didn't want to find out what Sam meant. No way. Razor's tough face was gone, he looked like a scared kid now. The others were the same, wide-eyed and shaky. They tripped over each other trying to get out. "Let's go," one yelled, pushing past his friends. They ran to the door, boots slipping on the ketchup they'd spilled earlier. Outside, they jumped on their motorcycles. Engines roared, tires squealed loud, and zoom, they were gone, vanishing into the dark night like they'd never been there. The diner was quiet for a second. Then clap, 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 the customers started cheering. It started with one person, then another, and soon everyone was clapping and shouting. "Way to go, Sam," a lady yelled. "You showed them," a kid said, pumping his fist. People got up from their tables and crowded around Sam, slapping him on the back. They were smiling big, their faces full of surprise and joy. The quiet chef they'd ignored all this time. He wasn't just a cook anymore. He was their hero. Sam didn't say much. He just nodded, wiping his hands on his apron. But you could see it in his eyes, he was glad. The bikers were gone, and his diner was safe. The customers kept talking about it. "Did you see how fast he moved?" one guy said. "I can't believe he was the Wolf," a girl whispered. They weren't scared of him, they were proud. Sam had stood up for them, for his place, and now they saw him in a whole new way. After that night, Dusty's diner changed. It wasn't just a little spot to eat anymore. It became the safest place in town. People knew Sam was there, watching out for them. The bikers never came back, not Razor, not any of them. Word spread fast, "Don't mess with Sam." And the diner? It felt like home now, warm and strong, all because of one quiet guy who turned out to be a legend. Okay, let's wrap this up with something big to think about. Here's the deal, Sam looked like just a cook. That's all anyone saw when they walked into Dusty's diner. A guy in a greasy apron, flipping burgers, wiping sweat off his face. Nothing special, right? He didn't talk loud or act tough. He didn't show off or try to be cool. To everyone, he was just the cook, quiet, simple, boring even. But oh boy, were they wrong. Sam was so much more than that. Under that apron, behind that calm face, he was a whole different person. A leader. A fighter. A guy who used to rule the roads with the Iron Wolves. Nobody saw it coming, not the bikers, not the customers, not anyone. Think about those bikers for a second. Razor and his gang, they were the loudest guys in the room. They roared in on their big motorcycles, shouting and laughing, acting like they owned everything. They thought they were the strongest, the toughest, the ones who'd win every time. They picked on Sam because he looked weak to them. Burger Boy, they called him, flicking toothpicks and spilling drinks, sure they could push him around forever. They thought they'd win until they didn't. That Friday night, When Sam showed them who he really was, their tough faces fell apart. They ran away, scared, because the quiet guy they laughed at turned out to be way stronger than them. That's the cool thing about this story. Sometimes, the person you least expect is the one who changes everything. Sam didn't need to yell or brag. He didn't need fancy clothes or a loud voice. He just waited, watched, and then bam, he took charge when it mattered most. The bikers thought they were big shots, but Sam showed them that real strength isn't about being loud or mean. It's about what's inside you, what you've got hidden, ready to come out when the time's right. And when Sam rolled up his sleeve, showing that tattoo, he proved it. The quietest guy in the room ended up being the hero. So here's a question for you: have you ever underestimated someone who surprised you? Maybe there's a kid in your class who seems shy but turns out to be awesome at soccer. Or maybe a friend who doesn't talk much but draws the coolest pictures you've ever seen. It happens all the time, right? We look at people and think we know them, like how everyone thought Sam was just a cook. But then they do something amazing, and you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. That's what makes people so neat. You never know what they're hiding, what they can do, until they show you. Let me tell you a little story. Once, I knew a kid who was super quiet. He didn't talk much at school, just sat in the back, doing his work. Everyone thought he was boring, me too, honestly. But one day, there was a talent show. Guess what? That kid got up and played the drums like a rock star. The whole room went wild, clapping and cheering. We had no idea he could do that. He'd been quiet, but he had this big, awesome talent hiding inside him. It's like Sam with his tattoo and his past. Sometimes the best stuff is tucked away where you can't see it. That's what this story's about. Sam surprised everyone because he didn't act like a big deal. He let the bikers think they were winning, let them laugh and mess up his diner. But all along, he was ready. He had power they didn't expect, and when he used it, everything flipped. The loud guys lost, and the quiet guy won. It makes you wonder who else out there is like that. Who's the next Sam, hiding something amazing, waiting for their moment? So what do you think? Ever meet someone who turned out to be way cooler than you thought? Maybe it's your teacher, your cousin, or even you. Tell me about it, I want to know. Drop it in the comments below, because I bet you've got a story like that. People are full of surprises, and that's what makes life fun. You never know who's got a secret talent or a hidden strength, just like Sam did. And hey, if this story got your heart racing, if you were cheering when Sam slammed Razor's arm down or smiling when the bikers ran off, stick around. There's more where that came from. Stories about regular people doing big things, about quiet heroes and loud losers, about surprises that make you go, wow. Sam's tale is just the start. Next time, it might be a teacher who's secretly a spy, or a kid who saves the day with a slingshot. Who knows? But if you like this one, you'll love what's coming. Think about Sam one more time before we go. He didn't need to be loud to be strong. He didn't need to show off to win. He just stayed himself, quiet, steady, tough, and that was enough. Maybe you're like that too. Maybe you've got something special inside you, even if nobody sees it yet. Don't be afraid to let it out when the time's right. Like Sam, you might surprise everyone, and that's the best part. So keep watching, keep wondering, and keep being you. The world's full of quiet heroes, and you might be one of them.